Today we're going to talk about the Augusta Maps website and how to use that. I'm going to show you the basic tools, and if you have specific questions that you need answered or need to know how to run the tools, use them, I'll go ahead and answer those as well. So from the augustagA.gov website, you can launch the Augusta Maps program. We do recommend that you use either Chrome or Firefox. There have been a lot of updates to Internet Explorer, and multiple websites, not just unique to Augusta, but across the country, have been having issues with Internet Explorer. So we recommend Chrome or Firefox. And from augustagA.gov, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see multiple icons, of which the third one is the GIS online maps. When you click that icon, this launches the Augusta Maps online mapping application. Along the top of the page, you'll see Search, Maps, Tools, and More. By selecting each one of those icons, additional tools will become available to you. We're going to start with the gray tools along the top of the web page. The first one is the quick search. From here, you have the ability to search all fields, or if you click on the all fields icon, you can drill down your search even more. If you know an address, if you know the name of the owner, the real key, the PIN, the parcel number, you can type in that information. If you're not sure, but you know the name of the subdivision, you would select that icon and then type in the name of the subdivision. You'll see the auto-suggesting pop up as you begin typing. You can click on it. For this search, I queried the Haines Station subdivision, so all properties and parcels in that subdivision will be returned. You can see along the side, the left-hand side, there's 325 properties. Not the best search for this demonstration, but because there are so many, it would take a while to drill through that information. From here, you can click Zoom All. You could create mailing labels. This is really helpful for our HOAs in the area. And they can choose the label style, and then they'll all print out automatically. You can convert to a CSV, which is your Excel spreadsheet. You'll see a CSV file launching. And all the properties that met that search criteria will be returned to you as an Excel spreadsheet. You could view this information as a table. This would allow you to quickly sort through and identify the different discrepancies or similarities between the properties. And you can also clear out your search. You always have the option to clear out any search you're running or anything you have saved by refreshing the web page. So again, under the quick search, I'm going to use the municipal building as a starting address. When you type in any address, on the left-hand side, you'll see multiple links to other web pages. You'll see the property report, community info, sales search, property tax bill, sales history, photos, sketches, map links, and oblique photos. By clicking on any one of those links, you'll be launched to a secondary website. The information displayed on the property report is the same information that is pulled directly out of the tax assessor's database. So if you query your own property and you see any information that may be incorrect, it's important that you notify the tax assessor's office so that you can get that information corrected. On the property report, you'll have basic information, your PIN, the address, the ownership. There's additional tax information about your subdivision. As you continue scrolling down, if there's a footprint of the building that will be available to you, if you click on that image, it will expand and you can see approximate lengths for each side of the building. And as you continue scrolling, if there's multiple buildings on that property, you'll have access to that information as well. If you are at your desk or logged into any city-owned computer that's attached to the network, you will have access to additional information, such as these comments that are at the bottom. If you're at home or on a public computer that's not connected to our network, that information will not be available to you. We do that in an effort to protect the public. Sometimes those comments will include information about aggressive animals that may be on the property, and it's a warning to anyone going to that property that, keep an eye out for this. There's also information about any time the parcel may have been split, joined with the neighbor. As different changes happen to those parcels, that's all kept track in this log down at the bottom of the screen. You can link to tax bills. Because this is a city property, it wouldn't have one, but any privately owned property would. You can run the community info. So by selecting this button, the application runs a query of everything that's surrounding this parcel. So you have your basics, the parcel number. You can also find out what zone the parcel is in, if there are any flood documents attached to this parcel, the flood risk, how far is the closest flood boundary to this parcel. So some of this information may not be directly applicable to you and your jobs, but it's really important for the public and the owners of this property to have access to this information. So considering that the public and the employees needed access to it, we put it all out there for everyone. There's, as you click through the different data types, by clicking on the plus sign next to the data type, additional information will become available to you. Any magnifying glass you see, you can click on and it will zoom to that area. When you get to the zones, the school zones, education zones, you'll see a polygon appear right here, the orange polygon. It's showing you the boundary for the entire school in that area. So that's really important for our citizens to know that information. We do receive updates from the Board of Education twice a year. They're really great about providing those updates as soon as they happen so that we can get news out to the public. There are additional private school information on here as well, and voter information. So again, by clicking on those plus signs, it'll take you through all the information for that parcel. Were there any questions on that? Okay, so back to our search. You can run a sales search on any property. From here, you type in your criteria. If you want a residential property, if you want commercial, you can select land with a building on it, or land only, or building only. You can select the area that you're interested in. tell it the square footage you're looking for. I mean, this is really as detailed as you need it to be. Type in the year you want it built and then run the search. And these will be the records that are returned to you that fit that criteria. From here, you can zoom to each one and expand the details for that property. You can find out how much it sold for, when the last sale date was, plat book, deed book. Back to the parcel information, you can link to the property tax bill. That's the same link that was in the property card. You can run a sales history. So every time that property has sold, there'll be a link for that. You can find out who purchased it, what the sale price was, when it last sold. We have photos and sketches, which will be identical to the photos and sketches that are in the property card. There are map links. This will link you to Google Maps and Bing Maps. Along the top, you have the option to flip your search to the different websites. Pay attention to the dates. You'll see dates changing, especially on the Google Maps Street View. We'll have imagery from 2012, and then all of a sudden you'll hit a major intersection and it'll flip to 2017 data. So if you see a house that you know is torn down within that time period, check the bottom of the screen for the date of the image. You can also select oblique imagery, which are photographs that are taken at an angle. It allows you to estimate building heights. Now, Augusta just flew last weekend. They completed brand new imagery of the entire county. We have that imagery available. Because it has not finished processing, the default imagery is the 2014. To change that, select date and click on early access. And these are the new aerials. Now, like I said, they're not completely finished. They're still doing the raw processing because they just completed flying them. But you have the option to view the imagery. You can see the building that was on the corner, the old engineering building, is already torn down, and it's gone from this photograph. It depends on funding. So sometimes counties, some years they were funded every other year. The last flight was funded in 2014. And they just flew again this weekend, so 4 years. And you can flip through on the different arrows. Because these are still being processed, obliques for the newest imagery are not quite available yet. You can rotate your view by clicking on the compass. You can rotate the view from the north, south, east, or west. If you are looking for a specific building or a violation that you know occurred at a specific time, you can change the year. We keep a record of all of our aerials back to 2007. So by clicking on the 2017 date, you'll be able to view the imagery as it was flown at that time. So here's the engineering building that was just torn down. This allows you to rotate, so you can view from the north, the south, the east, or the west. And right here is listed, you'll have the date listed for the date it was flown and how many images are available to view in this area. As you click through, you'll see differences between them. Were there any other questions?
How do you move to the Excel spreadsheet?
The Excel spreadsheet. So along the top, if you identify any property, so click on the I for identify and select any property. Along the right-hand side, you'll see data that's returned to you. If you run a search for a neighborhood, so let's run it for Haines Station. You'll see multiple results returned. There's 325. If you click CSV, down at the bottom, it's running through and creating that document. And then click the CSV file and it will open. From here, you can save this to your hard drive. If you wanted to print it, export it to PDF, you can do all of that. Our parcel data is updated daily based on the plats that are filed throughout the year. Our road data is updated daily. Deeds of dedication are filed frequently throughout the year. So roads that were private become public and vice versa. Roads that might be abandoned by the city or deeded to the neighbor, you'll see those updates changing throughout the year as well. Are there any other questions? Along the top, you can click Street View. When you select Street View, you'll receive direction to click on the map 150 feet, within 150 feet of any road. So click on the map and this screen will pop up. If you select Large View, which is down here on the second screen, the imagery will be expanded. Now from here, you can click on the imagery and rotate it. You can drive up and down the road. And again, along the bottom, you'll see the copyright was 2018. However, this imagery was driven in 2012. That's something that Augusta has no control over. We make their data available for everyone to view easily, but we do not have any contract with Google. We don't control how frequently they drive. On the right, you'll see an inset map with a little yellow person indicating where you are. If you click on the little guy, you can pick him up and move him. And when you release, the map will zoom to that new location of where your little guy is. Along the top is the info button. This is the same tool as the community info that we ran when it was available on the property card. By selecting map themes, these are quick views for various departments that we have set up throughout the county. So for the Augusta facilities, it's easiest for that team to view the data in this format. The orthophotography will disappear. Different layers will turn on and off that are different from the default base map that you see when you initially launch the application. You can go through and click, and different labels will turn on, different base map. It's specific to that department. Along the top is a measure tool. You have the option to measure area, distances, or specific locations on the map. You can change your units from the default, which is feet. You can switch it to miles, kilometers, meters, yards, whatever unit of measurement you need. You begin, click once on the map to begin measuring, and then double click, and you'll see under the segment how long the area you just measured is. If you need to measure an area, you click on the area tool. By default, it's going to measure in acres. You can change that if you need to. You click once to begin measuring. You click through your area, as many clicks as you need. Double click, and you'll see the length of each segment as well as the total acreage. If you don't want to see your measurements, you can uncheck the box that says label all measurements. Along the top, the last button is the print button. Here you have the option to add a title to the map that you print. You can change the scale. You can change the paper size and switch from portrait or landscape. You'll see an orange box in the middle of the screen. That's the area that's going to print on your map. If you uncheck Include Data Table, you'll see the print area expand. So when you include that data table, it's including information about those parcels that you had selected, which would make your print screen smaller. From here, you can print, create a JPEG, or create a PDF. Are there any questions?
Where is the key for the themes when you go through map themes?
The legend?
Yes. So if I pick something like, stormwater, clerk court, how can I tell what is being, how they're being determined and what the fields are?
We have two choices. You can use the Identify tool, select the object that you want to know more information about. So when you identify, the first data that's retrieved is information about the parcel. If you click Next, the second data set that's returned would be additional details. Because I clicked stormwater, it's telling me the fee for this parcel. If you want a quick listing of everything that's shown on the map, that is retrieved using the legend, which is under Maps, and then Legend. So when you click that, the legend will display, and it'll show you the different symbology for all the different data sets that are currently visible. Were there any other questions? Okay, so those were the very basic tools that we wanted to introduce to everyone. I believe everybody's used the website before. Were there specific questions that you had that I can answer for you? Yes.
When looking up certain address, it'll bring up another address. Why?
So you're asking when running a search,
Yeah.
why does it not return the address you're looking for?
Yeah.
Sometimes what happens frequently is the address that people use is not the assigned city address. So, and Shannon can talk to this, he spends all day fixing these issues. What's there was one property, it creates a big problem for the 911 calls when an address that maybe the homeowner chose randomly 100 years ago was not the city-owned address. So sometimes that could happen as addresses are retired, or if two properties are merged together, the homeowner might pick one to keep, but it's not the assigned address by the city. If you had an example, I can pull it up and try to go through. Yes. Under maps, along the top of the screen, the second yellow button is maps. Click on that, and then map layers will be the third item on the toolbar. If you click on the plus sign next to map layers, give me a moment to find it. Okay. The very last, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see administrative. If you click on the plus sign, you'll see zip codes is one of the options to turn on. If you check the box, the zip codes will turn on. Right now it's grayed out. That means there's a scale dependency set on that layer. So you need to either zoom out or zoom in to turn that layer on. So as you begin zooming out, you can see the blue striping and then the yellow striping. Those are the different zip codes. You can see the zip code number is labeled on the polygon. Because we have so many different data sets available to view, symbology is different for each layer. And this was by setting the stripes and the hatching, that was an easy way to distinguish that between another layer that may be turned on at that level. You can identify it, which will show you the entire area that's within that zip code. No problem. And that's going to be true for all the layers that are available on the website. So by selecting maps and map layers, you have the ability to turn on and off any data set that you see listed. A lot of times people want to know the contours for an area. You can turn on your 2-foot contours, zoom in, and those will be made available. And we have them labeled in 2-foot intervals. So turn off the zip codes, and you can see the orangish color are your contours. All of the data sets that are available here, turn them on and off. If you're looking for something and you can't find it, you're welcome to call us. We tried to categorize everything in a logical manner, but there are some that could fit in multiple categories. And I know it can sometimes be tricky to find them. So, I'm sorry, what's that?
Yes, like, do y'all, but that's probably be coming from the license office, but do y'all separate like commercial buildings? That you can we just type the address in Is it a list you can go to get to that?
For
From
the
here.
building search,
Mhm.
I don't know if we have
Thank you.
buildings separated by commercial or residential.
Okay, well, I just looked at address up.
Under advanced search, you have the ability to narrow down your criteria, but I don't believe we specify between residential or commercial. So I'll go through the additional buttons and functionality. You've seen the basics. The tools run off of knowing and using the basic information, the basic tools that are available. The search is the same as the quick search. You can select on map. You can change your selectable layers. By default, it's going to be parcels. You can change that to any of the data sets that you see listed. If you click on point and you select on the map, it'll give you information on that exact point that you clicked. If you flip from the details listing back to select, you can change that criteria by selecting line. You click on the map once to begin, double click to end, and all the results, any property touching that line will be returned to you. Shape is the same. Click once on the map to begin, double click to end, and all properties within that area will be returned. You can add a buffer if you need to quickly find the owners for any stretch of road. We had this happen when one of the bridges washed out, was it 2 or 3 years ago? They needed to quickly get a hold of all the owners and notify them of what was going to happen and when. They can add a buffer, begin clicking on the road, double click to end, and all properties within 100 feet of that road or that bridge or that structure will be returned. They can print the mailing labels, send them out to the citizens, and they'll receive their notification. You can search by nearby features. I mean, it's completely customizable to the criteria that you need. Also, along the search option, you can run an advanced search, which we briefly just talked about. You can change your selectable layer. You can select by parcel number, by year, and run your search that way if you're looking for something specific. You can find by address. So if you know an intersection, but you don't know the house at that intersection, you can type in the intersection and the results will be returned to you. As you begin typing, you'll see auto-suggesting. When you click on that auto-suggestion, it will zoom you to that intersection. You can run a sales search. You can run it on commercial properties. It works best for residential because commercial buildings tend to not have the turnover rate that residential structures have. So let's go to a residential area. So when you run the sales search, you select your type. For this, we'll do residential and land only. You specify your minimum and maximum lot size in acres. We'll say 3 to 4 acres. and then you tell it the sale date. By default, it's going to show you everything from this day back. You can change that if you want to go back further or not as far. You run your search, and all properties meeting that criteria will be returned. Also under search is the crime search. Our crime data is updated every 2 weeks from data taken directly from the sheriff's office. By default, you're going to be shown everything that happened within the past year. You can change your zone, you can change the area, you can change the date. If you're looking for a specific type of crime, you can view that as well. By default, all crimes are turned on. You can turn off any of those crimes. The only crime that we do not display are the sexual assault crimes. We do not want a point on someone's house saying a violent crime occurred here, and we do that to protect the victim. As you zoom in, after you've run your search, you'll see blue dots and blue bubbles and even number counts. By clicking on Identify, you'll be able to view more information about the type of crime. If you see a number, that means more than one crime occurred here that was in your search criteria. So you can see, this is 1 of 2, and you can get information about the crime. The blue dots mean that a crime occurred here, but it's not within your search criteria. It could be outside of your date range. It's not the type you were looking for, but we put a dot on the map to say, hey, something did occur here.
How far back do you keep the blue dot on there?
We've never had a request to remove them or put an expiration date. So I believe we started in 2010, 2011. So all of that data is kept and available to view.
So you keep the blue dot on there since if a crime occurred at an address from 2011, you can see it?
Yes.
And what is it, just a police report file?
Yes. So when you click on the details, you can see a case number, the category that it falls into, the code, if it's a residence or a business, and then there's some additional information available to view.
Would this show traffic crashes also?
It doesn't show crashes, but it does show carjackings. Are there any other questions about the crime search?
How do you determine which crimes are committed? No, I mean, who makes a determination which reported incidents are highlighted and put on by blue dot?
Well, any crime that the sheriff's office wants to display, all their data, they physically take the data and give it to us. So if the sheriff's office provides us the data, then it's included.
So they have a list of
Correct.
incidents that they want reflected on the map?
Yes, and every 2 weeks we get a new list. Are there any other questions? Okay. Along maps, you'll see a lot of the same tools available. We tried to make them as easily accessible as possible. Map themes is the same as the gray map themes along the top of the screen. Base map allows you to turn on and off the different aerial photographs. So that picture that's taken from above, you can flip all the way back from 1997 is the archived aerial photographs. Under map layers, that's where I showed you the ability to turn on and off the different GIS layers that are available. You can create thematic maps. Thematic maps are a way to very quickly, easily sort through different types of information in large data sets. So if you think back to your statistics class, the natural breaks and the equal intervals, that's where this comes into play. So this search was based on acreage. Let me switch it to bedrooms. So along the bottom, you'll see the legend for the thematic map and the different colors on the screen. You can switch this. By default, it's blue. I like seeing multicolored. And it'll show you the different categories for the number of bedrooms in that area. The opacity is how transparent the GIS data layers are. You can make them more or less depending on what you need it to be. Also under maps is your legend and an overview map. By clicking the overview map, it will show you in the bottom right-hand side of your screen where you are in the county. So when you're zoomed in, and if you're maybe not familiar with the area, this will give you an overview of where in the county you are. You can create bookmarks. We tried to create bookmarks for the most common areas around town. You can certainly create your own. To do that, you click Add a Bookmark. You can name it. And then that bookmark will be saved until you clear out your cache. Once you clear your cache, you'll have to recreate your bookmark. And the last item under Maps is Print. This is the same print function as the top of the screen print button. Under Tools, you have Identify. Again, this is the same Identify tool. The Community Information, which is the same as what's in the property report. The Street View, which we viewed earlier, allows you to have street imagery. You can draw on the map. You can choose a point, a line, or a shape. You can change the color. By default, it's red. You can draw all over the map. You can add text. And again, you can change the color. You add your text. And then click on the map, and your text will appear. And then you can print this. You can measure, which is the same tool as along the top of the screen, and you can export. Some of the data layers are available to export. There are minimum and maximum number of records that can be exported. 1,000 records is the maximum you can export. Our local engineers love this because they can export the contours and the building data, and it helps them with their site plans and their engineering and building plans, construction plans. When running the export, the default is a shapefile, which is a GIS compatible format. You can change that to CAD, MicroStation, whatever format you need. The last yellow button along the top is More. Here, there's a sign-in. Some employees have a unique login and password. There are additional data layers that are available that only specific employees have access to. Mostly our fire department, police department, housing, community development. They have additional layers that the public doesn't need to see. And this is where they would enter their credentials to sign in. There's a help. If you get stuck, you can click on the help, and you're more than welcome to call us or email us. You can create a map link. If you're zoomed to an area and you want to email this to your coworker, you click on the create map link, you copy the link, paste it into an email, and then when your coworker clicks on that link, it will zoom to the same area. There's a contact us, you know, if you need help. There's the county link back to the county page, and then information about the website. So I know I ran through that really quickly. Were there any questions?